Hey guys, I thought I'd do a quick video because I've been getting links and articles all morning from friends of mine informing me that basically Dark Horse no longer owns the IP of Alien or Predator. Disney handed it over to Marvel and it's official. So we will be no longer getting any more Dark Horse, Alien or Predator comics. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not one bit surprised, because keep in mind, when Disney took over the rights to Star Wars, Marvel automatically got the Star Wars comic license from Dark Horse. So it was only a matter of time. What are my thoughts on this? It's a double-edged sword, because we have like nearly 20 years, if not more, 20 years worth of fantastic Alien vs. Predator comics from the likes of Mike Richardson, Randy Stradley. Some fantastic storylines, and while a lot of directors might kind of disavow this, a lot of the elements in those comics made their way into the movies. For example, Concrete Jungle, a lot of the plot and kind of ideas and beats from Predator Concrete Jungle found their way into Predator 2. And yeah, those comics had a big influence on the movies instead of just vice versa. They actually did. And even Alien vs. Predator, better or worse, a lot of the elements from the comics made their way into the movie. So yes, the Dark Horse comics have had a profound effect on the movies. So it is sad to see them going from Dark Horse to Marvel. That said, I would be interested to see what Marvel can do with the IP. Like, they have some fantastic writers and some fantastic artists. Like, I would love to see a kind of Garth Ennis Predator comic, or a kind of maybe an Alien comic done by Declan Shelby. I would love to see kind of like a newer kind of take on these stories, these kind of Dark Horse stories. And Marvel certainly has the resources in both artists and writers to back it up. Why do I think it's happening now? Well, this is merely speculation, but given the recent events involving writer Brian Wood, if you don't know, he worked on Aliens Defiance, Resistance and Rescue, and yeah, the first book, Aliens Defiance, fantastic book. The latter ones weren't great, but I think they weren't great for the reason I'm about to explain. Brian Wood was outed as being a sexual predator and kind of pressuring young girls, be they writers or artists, for sexual favours in order to kind of progress their career, which is an absolute scumbag of a fucking thing to do. But I think this, coupled with maybe the fact that the franchise is kind of like, the franchise is in limbo, I think this is what made Disney hand over the Alien franchise from Dark Horse to Marvel. And yeah, I think maybe Brian Wood's actions had contributed to such a thing. Now, again, that's mere speculation. So that's one reason I think that it's happening now, because of recent events involving Brian Wood. Again, this is mere speculation, and I could be totally wrong, but it's what I theorize. I think that they would have let Dark Horse work away with the IP for a couple more, maybe a couple more months or a year. But given the recent events involving Brian Wood, I think that's what prompted them to kind of just decide to change hands at this juncture. Have I any thoughts on how the fans might feel, or what I'd suggest as a fan? A couple years ago, I would have probably been like a lot of the fans are at the moment, and been like, oh fuck Disney, they're taking over everything, they're going to ruin the Alien and Predator franchise in the comics. And yeah, it is disconcerting that Disney are kind of taking over the world of entertainment, like the likes of Star Wars and Marvel and a lot of franchises. And Alien and Predator, while they're not as big as the Marvel franchise or Star Wars, they certainly have a fan base, and Disney realized that, and they're gonna use that to their full kind of extent. Two things as a fan. I hope that they don't water the franchise down. I hope we don't get like fucking a Ripley Disney princess or kind of some real cheesy birch circulating in the Alien or Predator franchise. Then again, I have a big soft spot for the Kenner stuff, but again, I just hope they don't water it down or sanitize it, because one of the great things with the Dark Horse comics was, if you look at the likes of Aliens Labyrinth, that comic could get away with stuff that you couldn't do in a movie. That comic done some very fucked up things and went to some very dark places, and was fantastic. I think it was an example. A lot of the Alien and Predator comics that came out in the early 90s, I love, but a lot of them had the same premise of just Marines versus bugs, whereas Aliens Labyrinth really, again, it deviated from that, and what we got was a Cronenberg-esque horror story. But yeah, I just hope they don't sanitize the comic book franchise, and we get a rake of subpar kind of tween-like comic book stories. Have I any advice to Alien fans? I would say, don't freak out, don't panic, don't pass judgment until we see what the comics are like. And if you are, like, one thing I'm going to say is, if you don't have the complete collections of the Alien comics, now is the time to buy them. Go out and buy the omnibuses, the Dark Horse omnibuses, because I remember when the changeover happened and you could not get new editions of the Star Wars graphic novels. You couldn't get the likes of Shadows of the Empire, or kind of the movie trilogy, or the kind of the Jedi, the Knights of the Old Republic books and stuff like that. You couldn't get those graphic novels anymore because they had changed hands, and essentially because they changed hands, Dark Horse couldn't release them. So you would end up going on to the likes of eBay and paying an exorbitant price for them. So if you can, now is the time to go into your comic book shop and buy the omnibuses and buy the collected editions, because once this changeover is solidified, we're not going to be getting any more Dark Horse comics. We're not going to be getting reissues or reprints of the kind of collected editions or the anniversary editions. We are going to be getting, we're not going to be getting anything from Dark Horse. So I would suggest go out, buy the omnibuses, go out, buy the collected editions, and just wait for Disney to release what they're going to release. And again, don't pass judgment. I'm not going to pass judgment on something until I have it in my hand. And yeah, hopefully they'll do the comics justice. So yeah, my name is Martin. This has been the Trash Picture Show. What do you think? Do you think Dark Horse losing the license is a terrible thing, or do you think Disney may actually do it justice? Do you think the fact that Marvel now have it will be a benefit to the comics? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and yeah, have a good one. Take care. Bye now.